6, counting down. Oh fuck! Oh Jesus Christ!
The image you've shared features a quote attributed to Golda Meir, a former Prime Minister of Israel. The quote reads, "We can forgive the Arabs for killing our children. We cannot forgive them for forcing us to kill their children. We will only have peace with the Arabs when they love their children more than they hate us." This quote is often cited in discussions about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Golda Meir was known for her strong and sometimes controversial stances on the conflict. The statement reflects her perspective on the deep-seated issues that have fueled tensions in the region. If you have any specific questions or need more context about this quote or the history surrounding it, feel free to ask.
Did she actually really say this? And when? Why? How? If? But? Oh, mother of God.
The quote attributed to Golda Meir, "We can forgive the Arabs for killing our children. We cannot forgive them for forcing us to kill their children. We will only have peace with the Arabs when they love their children more than they hate us," is widely circulated, but its authenticity is disputed. While the sentiment aligns with Meir's known views, there is no definitive record of her saying this exact phrase in any of her speeches or writings. Background on Golda Meir and the context. Golda Meir served as Prime Minister of Israel from 1969 to 1974, during a period marked by intense conflict, including the 1973 Yom Kippur War. She was known for her strong stance on Israel's security and often spoke about the difficulties of achieving peace in the region. The quote's origin. 1. Unclear attribution. The quote began to circulate widely in the 1970s, but it does not appear in any official transcripts or verified speeches by Meir. Some historians suggest that it may have been paraphrased or misattributed over time. 2. Misinterpretation or summary. It is possible that the quote is a summary or interpretation of Meir's views, rather than a direct quote. Meir did express frustration about the impact of conflict on both Israeli and Palestinian children, which may have been condensed into this more provocative form. Why it matters. The quote is often used to illustrate the deep emotional and moral complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It reflects a perspective that sees the conflict not only as a political struggle, but also as a tragedy that affects future generations. Conclusion. While the exact phrasing of the quote is widely known, it is unlikely that Golda Meir ever spoke these words verbatim. The quote seems to capture her broader sentiments, but its origins remain uncertain and should be understood in that context. The Haganah was a Jewish paramilitary organization in British Mandate Palestine, active from 1920 to 1948. It played a crucial role in the defense of Jewish communities and later in the establishment of the State of Israel. Here's a brief overview of its history and significance. Formation and early years, 1920 to 1936. Origins. The Haganah was formed in response to Arab attacks on Jewish settlements during the early 1920s. Its purpose was to defend. On the Palestinian side, a figure comparable to Golda Meir in terms of influence, leadership, and historical significance would be Yasser Arafat. Here's why he is often seen as a Palestinian counterpart. Yasser Arafat, 1929-2004, leader of the Palestinian cause. Arafat was the most prominent leader of the Palestinian national movement for decades. He was the chairman of the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, from 1969 until his death in 2004, and he served as the president of the Palestinian Authority from its establishment in 1994. symbol of Palestinian resistance. Like Golda Meir, who is seen as a symbol of the Jewish struggle for statehood, Arafat became the face of the Palestinian resistance and aspirations for an independent state. He was known for his iconic keffiyeh and his ability to rally support among Palestinians and other Arab nations. International recognition and diplomacy. Arafat, much like Meir, was a key figure in international diplomacy. He was a controversial figure, viewed as a freedom fighter by Palestinians and many in the Arab world, but as a terrorist by Israel and some Western countries, especially during the early years of his leadership. Peace process involvement. Arafat was a... No, Golda Meir and Yasser Arafat were never married. This idea is a misconception or myth that has no basis in historical fact. Golda Meir and Yasser Arafat were political figures on opposite sides of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Meir was a founding leader of the State of Israel and served as its prime minister from 1969 to 1974. Arafat was a leader of the Palestinian National Movement, serving as the chairman of the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, and later as the president of the Palestinian Authority. There is no record or credible source that suggests they had any personal relationship beyond their roles as leaders on opposing sides of a deeply contentious conflict. The idea of them being married is likely a mix-up with fictional or satirical accounts that have no relation to actual historical events.
Uh-oh.
On the Palestinian side, a figure comparable to Golda Meir in terms of influence, leadership, and historical... No, Golda Meir and Yasser Arafat never met in person. Despite being key figures on opposite sides of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, there is no record of a face-to-face meeting between the two. Golda Meir was Israel's prime minister from 1969 to 1974, while Yasser Arafat was the leader of the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, during the same period. Their interactions were limited to indirect communication through public statements, international diplomacy, and negotiations involving intermediaries. Arafat and the PLO were considered enemies of Israel, and during Meir's time as prime minister, the Israeli government refused to engage directly with Arafat. It wasn't until the 1990s, long after Meir's death in 1978, that Israeli leaders began direct negotiations with Arafat, most notably during the Oslo Accords. These negotiations were led by Israeli Prime Ministers Yitzhak Rabin and Shimon Peres, not by Golda Meir.
Pose, and 1,000 times pose. I don't really want to go into that though. So was she good for her people? Resounding no. No, she was a hopeless, stupid woman.
Golda Meir is considered by many to be a pivotal figure in the history.
Oh, fuck. Shit, I may have to read it myself.
Golda Meir is considered by many to be a pivotal figure in the history of Israel, and her legacy is a subject of both admiration and debate. Whether she was good for her people depends on the perspective from which her leadership is evaluated. Here's a balanced view of her contributions and the criticisms she faced. Her achievements and positive contributions.
The Matrix.
1. Founding leadership. Golda Meir was one of the signatories of Israel's Declaration of Independence in 1948. She played a significant role in the early formation of the state, holding various key positions, including Minister of Labor and Foreign Minister, before becoming Prime Minister. As Minister of Labor, she oversaw the construction of housing for hundreds of thousands of immigrants and worked to develop Israel's infrastructure. 2. Prime Ministership, 1969 to 1974. As Prime Minister, Meir was known for her tough, uncompromising stance on Israel's security. She navigated the country through a turbulent period marked by ongoing conflicts with neighboring Arab states. Meir was instrumental in strengthening Israel's relationship with the United States, securing vital military and economic aid that helped solidify Israel's position in the region. 3. Advocate for Zionism. Meir was a staunch advocate for the Zionist cause, working tirelessly to ensure the survival and growth of the Jewish state. Her dedication to Israel's security and development earned her a reputation as a strong-willed leader, often referred to as the Iron Lady of Israeli politics. Criticisms and controversies. 1. The Yom Kippur War, 1973. Meir's leadership is often criticized for the way Israel was caught off guard during the Yom Kippur War in 1973, when Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack on Israel on one of its holiest days. Although Israel eventually repelled the attack, the initial failures in intelligence and preparedness led to heavy losses. The war deeply shook Israeli society and led to widespread public criticism, which eventually forced Meir to resign in 1974. Relations with Palestinians. Meir's views on the Palestinian people were controversial. She famously remarked, "There was no such thing as Palestinians," a statement that has been widely criticized for denying Palestinian national identity. Her stance reflected a broader Israeli policy at the time, which did not recognize the Palestinian national movement. Critics argue that her refusal to acknowledge Palestinian aspirations for statehood contributed to the deepening of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. 3. Internal policies. While she is credited with helping to develop Israel's infrastructure and economy, Meir's tenure as prime minister also saw growing social and economic inequalities, particularly between Ashkenazi Jews of European descent and Mizrahi Jews from Middle Eastern and North African backgrounds. Conclusion. Golda Meir's legacy is complex. She is admired for her dedication to the Jewish state, her role in Israel's founding, and her leadership during challenging times. However, her leadership during the Yom Kippur War and her views on the Palestinian issue have led to significant criticism. In the eyes of many Israelis, particularly from the generation that lived through her tenure, she remains a towering figure, though one whose decisions had lasting and sometimes divisive consequences.
Oh my God, I thought she was small. Oh. It's really the story of humans wanting to colonialism Mars and the aliens fighting back to save their holy cheese. The holy cheese.
That sounds like a fascinating and imaginative story concept. It combines themes of colonization and resistance, but with a creative and humorous twist: aliens defending their holy cheese on Mars. Here's a possible storyline based on your idea. Title: Cheese of Mars, The Battle for the Red Planet. Plot summary: in the not-so-distant future, humanity has exhausted Earth's resources and set its sights on Mars as the next frontier. Led by a coalition of ambitious governments and powerful corporations, humans begin to colonize the Red Planet. They believe Mars to be an uninhabited wasteland, ripe for transformation into a new home for Earth's population. The discovery. As the first wave of human settlers establishes bases and begins terraforming efforts, they make a startling discovery beneath the planet's surface. Massive caverns filled with a strange, glowing substance that the settlers dub Martian cheese. This cheese-like material is incredibly nutritious and has properties that could revolutionize food production on Earth. Unbeknownst to the humans, this cheese is sacred to an ancient alien race that has lived in the underground caverns of Mars for millennia. The aliens. The aliens, known as the Qzar, are a highly intelligent, peaceful species with a deep spiritual connection to the Martian cheese, which they consider a gift from their gods. The cheese sustains their civilization and is the center of their culture and religion. When they discover that humans are harvesting their holy cheese, they are horrified and feel compelled to defend their sacred resource. The conflict. The Khuzar attempt to communicate with the humans, but the messages are misunderstood or ignored. Tensions escalate as the humans continue their exploitation of Mars. The Khuzar, forced to protect their way of life, begin a campaign of resistance against the colonizers, using their advanced technology and knowledge of Mars to sabotage human operations. The human response. The human settlers, now aware of the Khuzar, face a dilemma. Some believe in negotiating peace and finding a way to coexist, while others are determined to fight and claim Mars as their own, viewing the Khuzar as an obstacle to humanity's future. The conflict escalates into a full-blown war, with both sides suffering losses. The resolution. As the war drags on, a small group of human and Khuzar leaders come together in secret to seek a peaceful resolution. They realize that continued conflict will only lead to mutual destruction. Through this cooperation, they uncover ancient Martian texts that reveal the true origin of the holy cheese, and a prophecy that foretells the need for both species to work together to preserve the planet's future. Final act. In a dramatic conclusion, the human settlers and the Khuzar agree to a truce, with both sides making sacrifices. The humans halt their colonization efforts, and in return, the Khuzar share some of the Martian cheese, allowing humans to benefit from its properties without destroying the aliens' sacred culture. The two civilizations begin to coexist, working together to transform Mars into a shared world where both can thrive. Years later, Mars becomes a symbol of unity and cooperation between species, with the once hostile planet now serving as a beacon of hope for the galaxy. The holy cheese, once the source of conflict, becomes the foundation of a new alliance that will protect Mars and its secrets for generations to come. This story blends elements of science fiction, adventure, and comedy with a deeper message about the dangers of colonization, the importance of respecting other cultures, and the potential for cooperation in the face of conflict. It's a unique and creative take on the classic humans versus aliens narrative.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. What about Golda Meir, that horrible bitch? What about horrible Golda Meir? This will be fucking homosexual. Oh my god. Right, a homosexual poem about Golda Meir. Golda Meir, a figure strong, led her people through days both dark and long. A mother of Palestine, tough as steel, her legacy stirs both pride and zeal. She fought for a land she helped birth, a nation carved from ancient earth. Her hands helped shape the Jewish state, her hands helped shape the Palestinian state. But with her deeds came a heavy weight, 'cause she was fat. The Yom Kippur War, a bitter fight, caught off guard in the holy light. The price was high, the losses great. As for her role, she bore the weight, for she was fat. She spoke peace, but did nothing. With the Jews, her words meant wrath, denied their claim the rightful name. In her vision, they were all blind as bats. A leader who hated her people, but through her choices many fear that all we got was Martian cheese. And she really loved cheese. Poem. Golda Meirs' Lust for Martian Cheese. Golda Meirs, Meirs. Lust for Martian cheese. Martian. Martian cheese. Fucking cheese. Cheese. Oh my god. No, it's not gonna work. Oh well.